Welcome everybody, and the first thing you're going to want to do today is set up your notebook to look like mine on page 3. Make sure you add that essential question up at the top. You got your section for your questions, your notes, and your summary. If you need to pause to set this up, you may go ahead and do that. First note we're going to take for the day is the rebirth of classical ideas from the Greeks and Roman. That's what the Renaissance is. And we're going to get into some pictures of that here in just a second. And again, if you need to take time to write, go ahead and pause the video. All right, so classical ideas. And we're looking at classical ideas from the Greeks and the Romans. And here's a couple of examples. Notice in this Greek architecture, you have a lot of columns, detail at the top. You can imagine right here a pitched roof, okay, and carvings into the facade or front here and along here as well. Very detailed, very dramatic, very powerful looking. Over here, you notice in the Roman sculpture, you got a very real looking sculpture here, from his hair to the little crease in the ear, the serious real look on his face, an arm that is very proportional, meaning one side is not bigger than the other. Okay, and the detail even on his armor, very, very detailed. You can see horses pulling chariots. You can see someone here, looks like he's crafting something. Okay, and even the folds in the clothes of his robe here, even along his shoulder pads, the braids. Notice how real this looks. This is going to be repeated in the Renaissance. Just to give you a little bit of comparison with the Greek architecture, here's Renaissance architecture. You see those columns again, similar to the Greeks. You also see these domes. If you remember from our Roman Empire unit, the Romans created this dome. And here we see the dome. So we have a combination of Greek and Roman architecture in this building that is Renaissance era or Renaissance style. Again, classical ideas reborn. Here we have this lifelike figure from the Roman sculpture, and here we have this really very lifelike figure from the Renaissance, and we're going to zoom in on that just a little bit here. If you notice, look how real this looks. The top of Mary's blouse here almost looks as if it's separated from her body, like a real shirt would be. You can see the wrinkles in her clothing all the way down to the folds along the neck. You see the folds in her clothing down in her robes down here. Also, looking at Jesus's body here, you can see the muscles. You can see his ribs. His body looks real, as if it's just a real body that was frozen in stone. Look down at these ankles and these toes. I'm sure if some of you took your socks off, you'd be able to see your ankle bones, very similar to how they are in here. You're sitting at your desk right now. You could probably reach down underneath your leg into this area, and you'll probably feel this tendon right here in your leg. Okay, and we all have it. So you can see where the Renaissance uses this very real, a very lifelike, three-dimensional, okay, style. And we're going to get more into that later next week. And then we have down here the next note. The Renaissance is a human movement, sometimes called the humanism, of ideas in several subjects such as art, architecture, science, medicine, and literature. Humanism we'll get into more this week, but for right now, it's more of a human movement, okay, or sort of like the civil rights era, people pushing towards the improvement of man. All right. And the Renaissance began in the city-state of Florence, which we'll cover at a later time today. And city-states are large cities with smaller surrounding towns that govern themselves with their own government, trade, and taxes. For instance, the city you live in now, pretend that it was not part of the county or not part of the United States. You pay taxes to just your city, and your city ran itself. There was nobody else interfering with what your city did. Okay, that's sort of what a city-state is. It's basically your city is your own country. And here's a map of those city-states. You have the Republic of Florence here, and this is where the Renaissance started. You have Venice up here, Sardinia, you got Naples down here, and Sicily. Okay, and this all makes up what is modern-day Italy. One small change, though, is here, where you see this almost yellow tan section. It's the Papal States, meaning that this area is all controlled by the Roman Catholic Church. And if you look over here, here's Rome. At the time that this is occurring, that the city-states are really big, the Pope controls all of this area right here. And lastly, city-states usually develop specialized guilds, which are jobs, to produce a unique product from their city. Okay. Now every city-state, probably you could find some of the same jobs in each one, but some cities were known for specific things, and we'll get into that later today as well. And what exactly is a guild? A guild is a specialized job. You look like you have a craft maker's workshop in here, possibly making things from metal such as jewelry or stoveware or things like that, weapons. Okay. And one of the areas that was a guild was textile workers, or workers who specialize in clothing. You can see these women here turning spindles of thread to make clothing. This would be a textile workers guild. And all these people would work together. They would take care of each other when they get sick. They would take care of each other when they fell behind in their work. People who specialize in the guild are sort of like their own community. They tend to work together, live in the same neighborhoods, and specialize in the same job. And they always specialize in the same job. Other guilds are artists, such as those who make paintings or murals and statues and other forms of art. Here you have 4 different types of artworks. You have a couple of drawings, you have a painting, and you have a statue here. You actually know all 4 of these guys, or you should at least know, because they are the namesakes of the Ninja Turtles. You have Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael up here. All leading figures in the Renaissance, and we'll get more into their work next week. And lastly, here's Michelangelo's mega masterpiece. All these murals all over these walls and this ceiling in the Sistine Chapel of the mega cathedral, the Vatican in Rome. This is where the Pope lives. And here's Michelangelo saying, yeah, I'm awesome. He's responsible for all these artworks. And guilds today, we do have guilds. You have guilds of people in the medical field, such as doctors and nurses. People in public service, such as police officers and teachers. Okay, people all specialize in certain things. Okay, and it's very still much alive today. Today we tend to call them employee unions, but nonetheless they are specialties in one area or another.